Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 18, 2017 meeting to order. Please stand for invocation and pledge of allegiance. I don't see Bobby here, so Ron, will you do us the honors?
Gladly. Let us pray. Gracious God, we come before you one more time, asking that you join us in the decisions that we have to make. And while we ask that you be here with us, Lord, we ask that you look out for those people that lost their lives in the train wreck in Washington. Look out for our military that's serving in foreign lands. Look out for our police and fire. Look out for all of your people, Lord. And Lord, we ask that you bless us. Bless us with your presence here. Bless us with the decisions that we make. And bless us in all ways in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ron. Roll call, please.
Councilperson White. Councilperson Yon.
Present.
Councilperson Maples. Here. Council President Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 7 council members are present.
Scott Hawkins. Council Hawkins is on his way. He was stuck in traffic. And Councilperson Zastani is traveling with his job. So I need a motion for approval for minutes or regular proceedings for December 4th, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Can I approve the agenda, please?
No changes. Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. No further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
I have a question. Do we need to approve separately the minutes for the insurance workshop, or was that implied that it was all together?
I only
I thought
have
they were
one.
included in our packet.
I only had one for the regular proceedings.
I have
Yeah, we need to.
December 4th.
Yep, we need a separate motion, please. I'm glad you caught that.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we've got claims to be, no, did we approve the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Claims to be approved. We'll start with the general. I do believe we have a hand carry.
I don't know anything about the hand carry, so.
I have one. The hand-carried one is for $629.58. It's for the property and casualty. It's a claim that I received the information last week from Amir asking that it be paid. It's one of those that we pay out of that property and casualty insurance claim line item that was not enough to send for our deductible.
The new total that I came up with is $1,149,955.50.
Say 30 cents?
50 cents.
50 cents.
Say $959,050.
$1,149,955.50.
Motion to approve with the addition.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? First of all, I said Heather, all claims were legal, had the proper POs, were signed.
Yes.
Everything was fine. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? I see none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Let the record reflect that Mr. Hawkins has joined us, got through his traffic. Parks, please.
One thought on the parks one was the trolley driver. We still
Yes.
are waiting on the conflict of interest. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
These claims tonight are $102,744.19.
So then should we approve those with that?
Contingent,
pending
you did that
report?
contingency on the other,
Yeah,
at
she
the
just
last
got
meeting, and we're still holding that check.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Report of the clerk.
The only thing I have to say is I want to thank you all for working with me for this past year. I appreciate it, and wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and be ready for our next council meeting on January 2nd.
Okay. We don't have any unfinished business, so we're moving right on to new business, which is Mr. Merkley. He has the ordinance established conditions for right-of-way activity permit, and we'll do need an ordinance number.
Number 87.
This has been in the works for several months in reference to how we deal with or handle work in the public right-of-way. There are many aspects of this ordinance, but one of the main aspects is to basically try to motivate utilities to bore under the road as opposed to cutting up the road and then they come back and they just patch it. This will hopefully be a motivation because of the way the fee is structured for them to do that, which we've modeled after other communities that do that. Now, there are some other issues that this ordinance deals with, but that is the crux of it. There are some, we'll be coming back, this is just first reading, we'll be coming back on the next reading for some minor amendments the engineer's office is suggesting, but this is the first step in that.
So that you are requesting it only be passed on first
Yes,
reading?
yes.
Okay. Does council have any questions?
Is there a consideration for Holman's Lane on there? I know there's some distinctions on certain streets, and that's a very well-traveled street.
Yeah, reference, on the schedule of the fees, we could add Holman's Lane. I mean, I don't think that's something you want to do at the next, or if that's what you, I'll be coming back at the next reading with some amendments, and if you want me to add Holman's Lane, we can.
And I think Charlestown Pike would be
I was going to ask about
good
that.
on that one, to add to that as well.
And I don't think that'll be an issue with engineering, but I'll double check with them, make sure they're okay with it.
So, I'm sorry, the way that this is written, that's for those specific streets, we are de-incentivizing a right-of-way open cut because it's a higher fee than surface cut? Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
So we want them to make a surface cut as opposed to?
No, we are, open cut, we're making them pay more. Open cut where they cut in the middle, they're gonna have to pay more. If they wanna go, they're gonna save money if they bore underneath.
And I want to give you an example too. One that I've been on Mr. Merkley with getting this done on Allison Lane, Sellersburg Water, when they brought their new facility online, it actually blew out some water lines under Allison Lane, and they had cut in pretty deep, and they didn't really fix it back, and it kept sinking and sinking, and I mean, I know I was one that hit it. I had nowhere to go. There was over there, it was full of water, didn't know how deep it was. And then also on Plank Road, Dutch Lane, especially that intersection right there in 62. I mean,
Now, there will be some areas where they cannot, we have encountered where they cannot bore. They will have to do an open cut.
Yeah.
But for most places, they should be able to do a bore. And the problem is when they do the open cut, then they come back and pave it. And when it's not a good,
Pike is,
it's not a good paving job, well, people think the city is the one who did the work and we did the paving job and we're the ones that get the complaints. Or you all get the
Usually the way it works is we just pave a road and they start cutting it up.
So if a utility goes through and does some boring and, hits a water line and then has to dig up the road to fix the water line, we come back to these fees, or?
They'll have to go back to these fees will apply to all right-of-way work.
Okay.
Just so, for clarity for me, Les, they will pay if they open cut it, $10,000 Just a bond?
A bond.
How long will that bond be, in perpetuity, or?
Just for that project.
And then, okay, when they say it's finished and they get their money back,
Yes.
after we've said yes, it's an appropriate patch job?
Yes.
And then in that case, so if somebody cuts 10th Street, Spring Street, and the other streets that we just added, and those tonight, they put the bond up, plus they pay so much a day, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's how I thought I was reading it. Good.
Yeah, plus if it's not one of those streets, depending on how old the street is, it's $300 plus $5 per square feet. So it's still, even if it's not one of those streets, they're still having to pay more for an open cut.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's very similar to Fisher's.
Talking about, I know over in Louisville, they've got some kind of provision where at least I've been told they have a provision where anybody that makes a surface cut then has to repave the street from, block to block. Is that anything we can look into?
We can look into it. Our thought was, we believe 90% of the time, we believe that the cost,
of the
we
permit.
can push them toward the boring. And if that doesn't work, then we can come back and address that, but.
In my opinion, this is more of a market-based solution. So by incentivizing based on cost structure, the company is likely to want to incur additional fees. So I would imagine that this would be successful in doing that. But I mean, if it continues to be a problem, then maybe that's something we look at.
This is what a lot of communities do. In fact, this is sort of what we used to do probably until 10 or 15 years ago, and for some reason, someone decided the city of Jeffersonville to go the other direction, so. But
Make a motion to approve 17 OR 87 on the first reading.
Second?
Got a motion and second to pass 2017 OR87 on the first reading. Any further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Let's just still up. We have a resolution referring proposal to amend zoning ordinance pertaining to filling gas station standards.
yes, after some discussions with some council members with the Department of Planning and Zoning, I took it upon myself to draft a proposed amendment to the zoning code to address the concerns regarding the location or the proximity of filling gas stations. As you remember, currently we have a moratorium in place that says we're not going to permit any new gas stations within the city of Jeffersonville. That is a result of the zoning code currently discussing this concept of clusters, which has become not as easily understood as what some thought it would when it was originally written, as to what a cluster is and what's defined as a cluster, and it became very complicated. And I know the councils had various discussions on how to address this, and at one point it was suggested, well, why don't we just state a certain geographical distance to limit gas stations. This is what this amendment would do. It's a proposed amendment to limit gas stations. We would amend our zoning code, the section regarding gas station standards, which we currently have, but it would limit no more than one filling or gas station located within 1 mile from another gas station. It's not a total prohibition. We looked at 2 miles. If we went 2 miles, it would have been a total prohibition for the entire city. There would be no additional gas stations. With the mile, it still allows for new gas stations. Obviously, the existing gas stations would be grandfathered in under this provision.
Not creating this, that's what I talked about after last meeting as well. If this affects something you want to affect without creating the ability for someone to come in with 2 miles and say, well, what you've done is you've impeded interstate commerce by preventing the entire industry. So the fact that there are places that, now, not wrong, but that look pretty hard, don't they?
They're out toward the area where it's less developed, where you were, yeah.
I thought we were going to include that map.
Well, I was going to send the map out. I didn't want to include it as part of the ordinance or resolution, but I mean, the map,
You send it out.
everybody, yeah.
Okay.
What's the
So you
logic
don't-
behind the school portion? Is that something that we had
That's
before?
currently in there.
It's already in.
Yeah, I tried not to change much. I just took out the cluster language
Okay.
and replaced the cluster language with this 1 mile. Everything else stayed the same.
I'm going to speculate that the school language had something to do with that something happened when this was first created in 2000. To do something with the schools have gas on their properties where they had their. Is that what it was? I thought it was. What happens when you get old, you just remember stuff.
And how this process works, by statute, the council can institute or commence the process of amending the zoning code. This is done by passing this resolution, approving the zoning proposal, which is the ordinance. It is then referred to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission will not meet again until the end of January. At that time, they will review this. They will have a public hearing. Then they will either send it back to you with a favorable or unfavorable recommendation, and then you will hear it again, just like any other ordinance amending the zoning code. It will be a public hearing as well. We thought instead of what we've had here lately is regarding this issue is the Planning Commission has thrown things to you all, and then you all have been forced to give your opinion on the back end, and then they go back to Planning Commission, and we played this ping pong effect, because at the end of the day, it's your all's call. So we thought, well, let's start with the council and then send it back to Planning Commission.
Let's just say, up until now, it's just been a real cluster.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking the whole time he was talking about clusters.
But,
So this is just kind of symbolic resolution to show
No,
the support?
it's a statutory requirement to start the process. You pass the resolution saying that you all approve of the proposal, and you're recommending to the Planning Commission adopt that.
We have a resolution.
But you'll get another bite at the apple.
13, Resolution 13.
Well, we won't be able to put this in effect until at least February.
That's correct. I think they meet, I'm not sure, January 25th.
Last Tuesday.
Yeah, the moratorium, I think, goes into, we still have, I think, till March or April.
Yeah. Motion to approve 17R13?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2017 R13. Is there any further discussion or question? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any attorney comments tonight?
52 weeks of peace and prosperity, what more could you ask for?
You're here. I see no the department heads are here. Oh, go
I
ahead.
have one.
Okay.
You don't count.
Finance has reminded me, as you all recall, there was a bond that was approved by the council for the Tourism Bureau, and the bulk of those proceeds were to help fund the Public Arts Project, the Cultural Arts District. We are now beginning to get claims for those bond proceeds. The city is responsible for paying those claims or processing those claims. Tourism obviously has, it's their bond, but we are the pass-through. What we would like to do is the council's blessing or approval that the redevelopment commission approve those claims before they're submitted to you all. Just because there's an issue, has been some issue as to what that bond is to fund and what it's not to fund. and redevelopment was involved in putting that project together, the Cultural Arts District and the public arts aspect of that. And just feel it would make more sense for them to look at those claims first before they're submitted to the council. And I think she needs that approval before we can do that.
But then ultimately, we have the final
Yes.
claim.
Do we need a motion or just?
I would like to have a motion in second. I think that was clarified, which it's not a big time issue because they meet the last Wednesday of the month, and then you're all going to turn around and meet usually that following Monday. So
I'll make a motion that redevelopment commission approve the tourism bureau bond claims before coming to the council for final approval.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Heather, did you have something?
No, that was just,
Okay.
those claims are also, prior to, before they come to us, they get approved by the tourism board also.
Okay.
They'll be approved by all three boards.
Was there any public comment? Okay, then we'll move on to council comments. Councilperson White.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Callie for her master's degree.
Thank you.
Good expanding her education. Wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Councilperson Young.
Just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, eat lots of food. Great.
Councilperson Maples. Councilperson Hawkins.
Merry Christmas, and somehow, some entity somewhere has to get rid of this double light on the north end of going up on Highway 62 towards the roundabout on Vissing Park Road and whatever the name of the other road is. I sat for 16 minutes from the roundabout to that double light, and it's not because of orange barrels. It is because those two lights
Do not
attack each other. And you can't,
You brought that up.
so if we need to reroute the road or get rid of one of the lights or whatever we need to do, we need to do that. I will be bringing up the same thing to redevelopment at the
I
next
just brought
meeting.
that up.
So-
I thought those
We-
every single meeting for
Before we ever did anything on 10th Street, I was asked if we could eliminate that double light because they were going to add 3 more, plus the 2 more on the other end of the interstate. And it was mentioned that no, we can't line that Eastbrook up with Vissing Park Road because there's some utility there. And what happens? We put a gas station there. I don't understand why we couldn't put a street there to eliminate a traffic signal, but we can put a gas station there. I mean,
Good point.
Well,
It's so
in my
frustrating.
view, we should just cut it and then loop behind the gas station. It looks like there's enough property there to then meet into the Vissing Park, because you can't move the Vissing Park line, obviously. But the
Right.
other one looks like we could do an S-curve and back it up. I would be willing to support whatever deal someone brokers for that, for the long-suffering residents of the north.
Well, they did.
yeah, they,
No, I know, but I know that they did, and there for a while they were.
and JTL has assured that once the new lights go in, that they will all be synchronized from the roundabouts to Allison Lane. We'll see if that happens. But
All right, well, that's all. Sorry to end on an angry note. That's all.
Was you late today for a reason?
Well,
You could have been here 16 minutes earlier. Councilperson Owen.
The Parks Authority met just before this meeting at 4 o'clock. Just a quick update, AML has been awarded the contract for Phase 1 at Nahan Fieldhouse. They're beginning restroom work immediately. Brickwork will be taken care of, weather permitting, and I believe their contract goes through August of next year. The Parks Authority is hoping to have some sort of ceremony or groundbreaking or something like that just to celebrate the occasion, and they're throwing around January 9th, but I don't know if that's a hard date yet or not. We approved our meeting times for next year. If you want to come to any of the parks meetings, they're at 5:30 for the most part. Several contracts were approved for next year that will be paid in lump sums so that we get some discounts on those contracts. Jeff Goes Country is going to be moved up next year. We don't have a hard date yet, but our normal date for Jeff Goes Country is the same date that Taylor Swift is going to be at across the river. And obviously, she can't be over there and over here at the same time, so
That's right.
we're still in negotiations with Taylor Swift.
Would you mind sending that out?
Yeah, I can send this out.
Okay.
The only other thing that I wanted to bring up about the Parks Authority meeting, there was some discussion about some sponsorships being obtained for the Catfish Tournament next year with Cabela's and Bass Pro. And I asked, I thought that was something that we took out of the budget. It was a $50,000 line item. The Parks Authority took it out of the budget before we got it. It was in the budget when we got it, and we took it out of the budget. And it was, I point blank asked, so we took it out of the budget twice, and you're still going to do this event? He said, yes, we think we can get the sponsorship money to do it. Even if they get the sponsorship money, we have to approve an additional appropriation for them to spend those monies. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Will it task any of the other departments with that event too? Will police and
I don't-
fire have to cover that?
Is
Will,
there like
Or
a
street
drop
department.
dead date where if they don't have the sponsorships by a certain time, then the event won't happen? Is that something,
I'm not entirely sure. Yes,
that makes sense to me. I mean, if,
some kind of Cabela King Cat something.
I do have a
It's-
question, is who decided to, since it was pulled from the budget twice, who made the decision to move forward and get sponsorships for an event that we didn't approve a budget for?
I
Is that
assume
Paul,
it
or
was
that's-
Paul, but I
that's just
didn't,
the
I didn't go into detail
Okay.
in the middle of the meeting.
well, that's why I'm thinking like, I think we need to have a deadline for if we don't have enough sponsorships, even if we have partial sponsorships, so we don't have enough to cover the entire event, then the event's not happening. I think that needs to be a conversation.
I just bring it up because I know the Parks Department has been very tight on money, especially when it comes to special events. And this was something that we said, no, we don't want to tackle. We feel like we're spread too thin, and it appears that we're tackling it anyway, and I'm not sure why. So eventually, at some point, there will be an additional appropriation come to the council to spend this money. I mean, if it costs, I think they said that it was going to cost $30,000. They were shooting for $50,000 in sponsorships. If they get $100,000 in sponsorships, it's still going to require an additional appropriation from us for them to spend the money on the event, unless they just run short of something. Yes.
It was at a meeting that I wasn't there because I would have been in favor of it.
We were, I mean, and the only reason we were against it was just because we are so spread anyway. I mean, we do a lot of events and great events.
But if the board said no,
Seems like there is maybe a disconnect or miscommunication, or maybe there is a decision made that it could still happen without funding from the budget, but rather sponsorship dollars.
I think that was the,
I think that's probably where,
I don't think it was a misunderstanding. But I know that there are promotional materials going out to potential sponsors about this event that is not financially backed. So I'm not sure what,
Well, it's going to be interesting when it comes to us for additional appropriation, because I don't know how I'm going to feel about that, but thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Well, I guess my response to it is, we're always preaching be self-sufficient, and if they believe they've got a program or whatever you want to call this, that is going to be, they believe it's going to be self-sufficient, and it ends up being self-sufficient, like me, instead of congratulating them, they're really penalized.
well, when you mention additional appropriation, we would just be allowing them to spend the monies that they raised via sponsorship.
right,
It's not like it would be,
right.
I mean, if the money that we would be allowing them to appropriate would be money that they raised. I'm just saying that I think we need to have a point where if it doesn't look like we have the sponsorships to pay for the entire event, then we need to,
Cancel the event.
yeah.
So we don't hold back.
Obviously, if they don't have the sponsorship to do the event, they've got a problem.
Right.
They're going to have it.
That's, I think, just to protect us, so we're not then putting a $20,000 or $30,000 bill that we remove from.
I would just hope that they understand that the cost of the event isn't just within the parks. Because we'll have police and fire on our boats.
Yep.
And that's overtime, and they both run out of overtime. And it may not be a lot, but it's just thinking bigger like that, because it does tax the other.
Well, as we've already been brought to our attention, we may have OT issues with fire for military. One has been called, but also too, I think might be another couple of issues where he'll be sending out an email, but it is something that parks don't realize. They may be getting sponsorship for them, but it does entail other departments.
I like catfish.
Is,
I don't think anybody's got anything
Is
against catfish,
that,
you know?
is that all you have, Councilperson Owen?
Yes.
Okay, Councilperson Ellis.
You know, I'm going to go piggyback on what Matt was talking about. When we talk about catfish tournament, if they'd said a bass tournament, everybody would have jumped right in and supported it. This tournament is still being sponsored or still coming from one of our large sporting good retailers, Cabela's. And Cabela's is now a part of Bass Pro. And I see that this King Catfish tournament that they were proposing would just help bring some more tourism into the city of Jeffersonville. I fully support it. And I think that there are a lot of events that the Parks Department puts on that they don't basically get permission from the City Council or the Parks Authority. They do basically what they want to if they can come up with the money. So why should we be trying to knock them down if they can come up with the amount of money to promote it?
None of my comments on it meant to make them knocking them down. It's just my concern is for other departments that would have an added event to their budget. So hopefully there'll be communication between the department heads. Is that all you had?
That's all I have.
Councilperson Samuel.
I do have a couple of things. I will be out of town on our next meeting, January 2nd, traveling back from Texas, so I won't make that aware. I guess this is, to Heather, a question. We received an email about new job descriptions for a handful, I'll say, of employees moving up, or changing their job descriptions. Is that going to necessitate an increase in pay when they make that move?
I'm not aware of, I would say that would probably be an HR question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those were the things that were presented to HR and for Liz to look at. And I think that here lately there was one that was just added today, which Liz will be gone the 3 weeks, and I just wanted to give you all a heads up on that.
Okay.
And Kim has no idea whether it'll be recommended by HR, because Liz will look at the job description. They're filling out, I guess they got a packet of information that they fill out that they've gotten from Kim. It'll all be reviewed, so she don't even know what'll be recommended or not recommended from HR, if it'll be a change, maybe it might be a title change. She doesn't know any of that yet. So.
Okay. We can talk about that later then, when we know what we're truly talking about. Next comment I was going to make is, are we planning on doing any board appointments the first meeting in January?
I was actually going to bring that up.
And just a comment, I won't be here for that meeting, but I'm in contact with our attorney for the public arts, because there's when we changed the ordinance that established that, when we established who had what appointments, we failed to mention that all appointments should be Jeffersonville residents. And that was an oversight. And so I would just like us, when I work with the attorney, everybody to know that I'm going to put that in as amendment, because I think... No, we did have one person appointed that lived in the county, and that person actually, I think, came to one meeting and never could make the others. It wasn't really a big deal the first time anyway, but that was just kind of a cleanup thing that for future I think they should be from Jeff, and that was the intent. And so anyway, and then congrats, Callie, on your recent accomplishments. That's great. And then Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Congratulations, Callie. I congratulate you on faith. And to Zach, please extend our congratulations. That's awesome. I was going to bring up about appointments. I don't know what appointments will be ready to make that first meeting in January, but I was going to ask if, Vicki, was that tasked with you, or with who's keeping school? Yeah, because I know like in drainage, they stagger off. I mean, we need a list of what appointments we need to make, and so before we can
You've got
actually,
30 days before they evergreen over, so the first meeting doesn't necessarily have to be where you have the list, have it to everybody before the first meeting, and you
I've
set
already-
done or whatever. and then-
I have a list of all your all's appointments that I
Okay.
can email out to you. An email to you. But if you recall, 2 years ago, Scott was supposed to work on us with the drainage because the drainage
staggers off, right?
is off. So we still don't have that to a T yet
Okay.
because nobody got back.
So hopefully will your amendment to that be ready to go that first meeting in?
It could.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Right. I'll email that out. It's real simple, we talked about it.
Okay. That's all I have. It's been a pleasure working with you all this year, and
Halfway
Merry
through the term?
Christmas. Halfway point.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I will take a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Meeting is adjourned.